Thanks, Josh. Again, as I said earlier, I'd like to welcome everybody that's on the call today. One other thing I'd like to hit on real quickly is, if you're on this call and you're not a member of Kansas Corn, we highly encourage you to join. This organization is doing a lot of great things for Kansas Corn and for corn in general. And if you're not a member, please become a member and look into it and tell your neighbors about us, because I think our voice is going to need to be very, very well heard, and it's going to be important going forward with all the changes with the administration and things going forward. So with that, I want to call this annual meeting to order.
So the next thing on the business, and I know our KCGA secretary, Harvey Heyer, is here. These are the minutes from the 2020 annual meeting, and I just this information was in a packet from before, but if you can so you can see this here, but you can see it on the screen. So Harvey, do you have any comments on this? Do that. So you can kind of take a look at that, and there's just two things. Last year we were on the northern tier, and so the directors that were renewed last year for their 3-year terms were Brent Rogers, Tom Tibbetts, and Kim McCauley. And we were fortunately in person. That seems like that was like a generation ago, not a year ago there. So here's the minutes there. Does anyone have, you can enter in the chat or whatever. See, Chad has made a motion to accept the minutes. So, Mr. President,
we have a motion made by Chad. Please state your name if you're going to do it in voice, and we're looking for a second.
Ken McCauley, I have a second.
Okay, we have a second. Any more further discussion before we vote? With that, all in favor?
Yeah, you can go ahead and vote or put in an A.
Or B.
Or yeah, sorry, you don't have to put in an A if you don't. But looks like we're receiving the responses. Is it working? Oh. We're good. 100% approval rating there, Harvey. Great job. So through that, the next portion is our financial report. Our treasurer, Kent Moore, do you have any comments to make on this?
As everyone received in their email with the Zoom link, should have a drop down where you could download the financial report, which would have been our financial condition as of June 30th of 2020. And you can go through that and see that our cash balance at the end of that fiscal year was 1.331897.93, and our total assets probably need to be bumped up by 20 cents if I did my math right. I think maybe when we add down there at the bottom, we might have lost a bottle of pop down there somewhere. But with that one amendment, I would suggest that we have a motion to approve the financial report as amended, which would include the total assets of June 30, 2020 being $1,574,529.93.
This is JD Hanna. I move to approve.
Tom Tibbetts, I second.
All in favor? Vote.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect.
Motion passed.
All right. That's that. So moving on, the next portion here that we'll go through is this. We're going to go through some suggested changes that were approved by the board in the December meeting to the KCGA resolutions. The full resolution with the changes was sent out in that email this morning from Sue with the packet, but I'm just going to go through the changes here on the screen and explain a little bit the logic behind it, and we can have questions, discussion, move to amend, or whatever the will of the group is there. But as you see, I think it's it's no secret, our hard focus on ethanol through here. Ethanol shows up as our first resolution there. And as you heard before with John Linder and Emily Score talk there, it really is all about using all attributes that ethanol has. It's a higher octane fuel, low carbon fuel. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions and it saves consumers money. And so the board thought it was good to have a resolution in place that just kind of opened up the resolution section, and it just really shows that we support efforts to capitalize on these advantages. Gives us a lot of gives us the authority to really go forth and encourage different policy sets that has that. So that was the behind that. The second one, supporting efforts for fuel retailers investing in infrastructure for E15 and above to receive state alternative fueling tax credits. What that came out of is last year, it was actually one of our retail partners as we were helping them through the grant process and then beyond. What we discovered is as these retailers were installing infrastructure for higher ethanol blends, they were receiving, there's a special fuel tax credit that you can receive on top of the regular write-off, but it was determined by Department of Revenue, and we went through several rounds of this, but that tax credit would only apply to expenses for E85, not for any of the other blends, not for E15, E30 and that. And we actually, with Casey's last year, they introduced the bill and we supported it to get those state tax and credit incentives expanded to E15. As you know, COVID hit, it shortened the state legislative session. And, quite frankly, to be honest, this session, I don't think any new tax incentives like this are going to move. So no one's decided from industry to reintroduce this bill. But I thought it would be a good idea, since we were, lobbying on it and testifying on it, that we had something specific in our resolutions on this. So that's what's behind that. On the next section with water, I think it is something that's in the news a lot. Can be a localized issue, but it has a lot of broad spread implications, and that is the ongoing settlement of the water right determined impairment for the Rattlesnake Creek area there. And there is a through Kansas Corn Growers has been very active in this. And then, our own Kent Moore also serves as the chairman of Water Pack, which is the association around that. And then we've been really active with the groundwater management district there. Kansas Corn, we played a really pivotal role in connecting some consultants out of the DC area with GMD5, help them walk them through the process to apply for grant funding to that will kind of, right now they're in this planning phase to look at some different solutions to this to the impairment. But we hope will lead to, this planning phase will lead to them to be able to qualify for additional federal funds to pay for things. And then aside from that is a new organization, nonprofit that is formed called ACRES, and that stands for Augmentation, Conservation, and Restoration Economics and Sustainability. That is meant, it's got lots of different partners and has a very diverse board. They asked myself, being the Kansas Corn representative, to serve on the board. Kent Moore is on the board. We have representation from the Kansas Livestock Association and even from the Nature Conservancy. And so it's this nonprofit group that is really set up to be able to take donations and funding for to handle any additional funds for projects needed in the future. So I think it's a good group, and a good, real important for the locals there. So wanted to see about adding that specifically in our resolutions on that. And then finally, there, lots of sustainability certification programs are being thrown out there with, our partners with NCGA and the U.S. Grains Council, just looking at different sustainability programs. And so as we continue to look at the different programs out there, the board thought it would be good to have a resolution on the books that stated, hey, these programs should be straightforward, easy to understand, easy to account for, and then more importantly, accounting for regional production practices. So that is, sometimes we hear that cover crops, for instance, is a really popular best management practice and could have some great carbon sequestration benefits to it. But we need to recognize that cover crops might not function in all areas, especially in our drier areas of the state. So that's really the kind of how that was worded like that. So that was the last one there. Does anyone have any questions, comments they'd like to add on any of these resolutions that I went over?
And just to clarify for everyone, under our new format, we were trying to make it easy for you to see the changes, but the motion for approving would, if it's your pleasure, approve the changes and the existing. So we have the existing that will become from 2020 to the full set of 2021 resolutions with these changes.
Yeah. And that was in that proposed 2021 file that was an attachment on the email Sue sent with the invite for this meeting.
With that, we're going to need a motion to approve the changes.
This is Tom Tibbetts. I move that we second.
Thanks,
that.
Tom.
Yeah.
Need a second.
Yeah. Might ask for a second.
Yeah, still looking for a second for that motion.
I'll make a second.
Harvey?
Harvey, with that, we need a vote.
Yeah, so this is our last one of these.
Looks like the motion is approved. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect.
All right, with that approved, we did want to ask our very own Dennis McNinch, who is on the NCGA board, and if John and Gary are still on the call, then as Dennis comments about NCGA and priorities and Kansas's participation, we can have a little bit of conversation after Dennis's comments. Dennis, the floor is yours. We may have lost Dennis briefly.
Are you there?
Yep, we hear you now.
There we are.
Okay. Well, thank you, Greg. It's an honor to be here today and speak before you. This is the part of the agenda where they're just putting filler in there now. So that's what you're getting here is filler. But it is an honor to be here and speak to my fellow Kansans. We have a deep, rich history with leadership from our state, and it's good to see Ken McCauley and Roger Pine, former NCGA board members and actually NCGA board presidents once upon a time. But it's an honor to follow in their legacy. But it's also an honor to serve on your behalf. And Kansas, as you well know, is starting to make some inroads on a national level. Kansas for years, as a kid growing up in the 60s and 70s, Kansas was known as the wheat state. Well, that isn't necessarily the case anymore. And as well you all know, Kansas is now one of the leaders in the country in corn production. And if my math is correct, on an average basis over the last 3 years, Kansas stands as the #6 corn state in the country. And Greg, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the last year or two, Kansas even creeped up to fifth once upon a time and got in front of one of those states that has an I in front of it. So it's definitely an honor to be in this state. And as you know, we have a strong, rich agriculture history. I'll try to keep my comments brief. As our leader on the NCGA board, John Linder, has stated, you know, his mission is, or stated mission is no stone unturned. And that doesn't just apply to your board or your state boards. That applies to each of us as a producer. And we have a strong story to tell. And I would encourage all of you to be an advocate for corn, and not only just on the state level, but from a national level as well. Each year, each of the states identifies what they see as their priorities. Your state boards last spring sat down in person and identified their key objectives, and it's no surprise they're all demand driven. You know, we want to see more corn growing going on in this state and then also in the country. And those are all compiled on a national level. Each December, the state presidents all got together, and again, there was no surprises there. The goals and objectives, key objectives from the states collectively was we want more corn growing, and to that, ethanol is obviously up to the forefront. John Linder mentioned or touched on earlier, one of the next frontiers as far as ethanol is concerned is the next generation fuels standard, which or act that was introduced last year by Congresswoman Bustos from Illinois. That'll have to be reintroduced again this year. We're hopeful that this bill will get a lot of traction this year. Obviously, with the new administration, they've made it very clear that climate is one of the agenda points that they want to address in their administration. We think that's an excellent point to touch upon, you know, from a corn industry standpoint, because we think we have a great story to tell from an ethanol standpoint. And as you all know, you know, since the early 2000s, we've been making more and more ethanol in this country, and obviously in this state. And it's key to our lifeblood, our lifeline for our own financial viability going forward. We're going to need more ethanol to be blended into the fuel supply going forward, and that's something that we're going to take quite seriously as a corn board on the national basis and on your state level as well. I did mention earlier that we do have a new administration, as we all know. The climate's a big issue, and you know, that's something that we're going to want to sit down with the administration and welcome that opportunity to have a conversation and find the common ground that we can have with this new administration. And carbon seems to be a big topic there, and we definitely want to be having our seat at the table and tell our story, and make sure that as policies going forward or formulated on a national level, you know, we want, you know, the Kansas corn farmer, the national corn farmer's story to be weaved into that policy and make sure that it's a good, solid policy for America. And we want it obviously solid and safe for all of our corn farmers as well. With that, I will again just thank you for all attending today. Look forward to serving you in the future. And if you have anything that you want to discuss, whether it be on a state or national level, please reach out to myself or the staff and let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what your pulse is. But just keep in mind, just as John Linder said, we've all said this earlier, make sure that we leave no stone unturned, and let's move forward, and we can do a lot of heavy lifting if we all work together. And thank you, and look forward to seeing you next year, hopefully in person. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Dennis. I think this really is the opportunity with Dennis and John and Gary on the line. If anyone has a question or a comment, we'd certainly entertain that right now. John primarily, I guess I would ask that question as we're looking out into the rest of this calendar year and action teams and Corn Congress in July. What are your hopes and what are any of the plans or discussions that as far as getting to DC or an alternative location? Have you all brought that conversation up yet?
Yeah, it's a great question, Greg. And, honestly, our hopes are to be in DC in July. Our folks that we meet with virtually are looking forward to the opportunity for us to get there and meet them on the Hill, because that's where everyone sees a great deal of value. At a meeting virtually, gosh, the days go fast. I believe maybe it was the day before yesterday with 11 freshman members of Congress, and they all reiterated the same thing. They want to see us face to face. They want to get to know us a little better. Some of those folks know our issues, but boy, they were really attentive, really wanted to get to know us and appreciate the opportunity to have us be a resource for them as we move forward. And, when you see the looks on their faces when you talk about getting together, the nods are vigorous. They really want to do that. So we're really trying to push forward to think that DC would be open in July, hoping that the events on January 6th didn't preclude us from getting there for any other reason than clearing health reasons of COVID. I'd like to think that, we've got past that and can actually become functional in that regard. So, it's at this point, that's our goal. Alternative places. I don't know what Kansas has to offer, but, certainly a July Congress in Kansas might be a warm one. But maybe we could have it at Dennis McNitch's farm. I don't know. Just being a little humorous. It is a challenge to set up a group meeting and have hotel rooms. And, we've actually had some overflow issues a time or two, and you enter into contracts and you need to be diligent in your efforts and have the right reasons for not keeping good with the agreements you put in place long-term ahead to have the space to have it. So, we'll definitely be looking that, if DC doesn't open it up, where can we go? Who is capable of getting us together and doing it safely and effectively also. But yeah, let's hope to get back to the Hill here this summer. It would be all of us advantage, because they're looking forward to us being there as well. The members of Congress are.
Appreciate those comments, John, and thanks for mentioning that the officer team, your meetings with the freshmen, and we know we have feedback regarding Congressman Tracy Mann and Jake LaTurner that you met with, and that those meetings went really well, and we're glad that they heard from Corn. And I think we're going to be in the process of scheduling Zoom sessions here in February, since those opportunities that would have usually happened in January or February with our leadership teams aren't happening for trips to DC. So we'll be setting up those meetings as well. So thank you.
It is a platform for which surprises a few. The invite produced responses that, gosh, no one else is doing this. So, we're trying to do this, and I'm going to borrow from Emily's score, best in class. And when we have our virtual Corn Congress here coming up February and March sessions with Commodity Classic and our Corn Congress, we're really looking to have these experiences be best in class, and hopefully, back face to face going forward. So we'll be diligent, but we'll try to be as effective as we can on everybody's behalf.
With John's comments, Dennis, I think you might need to, build a little bit bigger hotel there in Utica to host Corn Congress, but the option might be there.
Well, I'll be sure to let my wife know that we'll have several hundred of our closest friends coming this summer to stay. So we'll need a plan accordingly, because, you know, with the present toilet paper shortages, I don't think we have enough toilet paper in the house right now, but we'll work on that. So.
You are forewarned. All right. Thank you, John. Thank you, Dennis. I think we're ready to move to the Association Nominating Committee report, which President Rogers is going to share with the group.
Yes, the nominating committee report for the West Central area, we have Dennis McNinch out of Utica. Harvey is stepping down from that position, and Dennis has gladly decided to fill that one. Central is Matt Splitter. He's an incumbent. He's running again. And then from the East Central, we have JD Hanna from Silver Lake, who is also an incumbent and has decided to run again. With that, that's the list of our nominating committee report. We have no
nominations from the floor.
Yeah, any nominations from the floor?
If not, entertain a motion for unanimous consent.
If not, I need to entertain a motion for unanimous consent of the slate. Do that by voting.
Yep. This will be the last one.
Probably somebody making the motion would help.
Yeah.
Let's back up a second.
We did have in the chat, I could see here, Chad Epler made a motion via chat.
So we need a second. Chad made
the Tom.
Yeah, Tom Tibbetts. I move.
We need a second. We need a second.
We need a second, Tom. Need a second. All right, he said, I got it.
Second. All right. Second.
With that, motion passes.
I had to turn around. I was middle of nowhere, north of Strasburg, Colorado.
Perfect. All right. So.
Okay, we are now wanted to share, since we can't, we haven't been able to really invite you to be here today in person, but many of you are aware that we had a chance to move offices here in December to a different location in Manhattan. We are now in a building leasing with from the Kansas 4-H Foundation, who moved also to a new building in an office park just it's half a mile west of the stadium complex on the northern edge of K-State's campus. So you see the address there, and it was previously a financial investment organization, and the two sides of the building, the 4-H Foundation has about 55% of the floor space. We have about 45% and share these conference facilities. We would love to show you around, but thought we could show a few pictures of the finished product. And there's still a little bit more corn paraphernalia that's going to be added to the office as we go through the next several months, and artwork. So we appreciate both the association board and the support we get from the commission to be able to do this. And we're enjoying the space, and looking forward to that time when we can host you in person here, and have you part of our offices. So with that, we do have a couple updates on programs that we wanted to share with you today. And the first one, Sharon Thielen, who's our Director of Education in the Kansas Corn STEM program, can tell you a little bit about all the, I call it again, the nimbleness that happened in the second half, in the last 2/3 of 2020, and some exciting programs that are just getting underway here in 2021. So Sharon, the floor is yours.
Very good. Well, thank you. As they said, my name is Sharon Thielen. I'm Director of Education for Kansas Corn. And I'm just going to give a brief update of what our program has done over the last year and a half. If you are new to learning about Kansas Corn STEM, the main thing you need to know is Kansas corn farmers are supporting a lot of teachers across the state of Kansas by providing free supplies, free training, and free resources. And so if you talk to any teacher in the state of Kansas that has not heard of Kansas Corn STEM, you need to get them connected because they truly are missing out. So as you can see on the slide, there's a nice little map there, and that kind of gives you an idea of probably where teachers are missing out. If there is not any color in your community, you really need to reach out to your teachers. But when we look at these statistics, we go off of school years. So really this is based off of the school year of 2019 to 2020. So it doesn't encompass any numbers from this current year that we are in session. But last year, we supported a little over 1,200 teachers, which is a little under what we did the year before. But what is impressive about that number is that's actually the teachers that we supported from August 2019 to probably spring break, because that's when COVID happened. That's when everything started to shut down. And usually for us, after spring break to the end of the school year is the busiest time for us when it comes to helping teachers and getting supplies out. So we were well on our way to doubling our numbers had COVID not hit. But with those 1,200 teachers that used our resources, that means that a little under 50,000 students in the state of Kansas learned about corn last year. So that's a pretty exciting number. Now, when COVID hit and spring break, we all took a week off to kind of figure out what school is going to look like. Shortly after that, we had a group of teachers come together. If you want to go back real quick, sorry. During COVID, what happened is we got a group of teachers over spring break and we said, what are we going to do? And so what we did is with this group of teachers is we developed a plan. And so in 50 days, we rolled out 47 new lessons. These lessons were designed specifically for teachers and students that were trying to handle remote learners, parents that were teaching their kids for the first time. It's hard to gauge how many actually use the lessons, but what we can tell you is over those 2 months, 73 lessons of the 90 that are on our website, we had a little over 3,700 people viewed those lessons, which is a 58% increase from the 2 months prior. And our 3 main landing pages for education had a little over 3,400 visits. So although we don't know the impact, I would say those are some pretty impressive numbers when it comes to that 2-month period when COVID hit the school system. So now if you go to the next slide, one thing that's not in those statistics is the impact that we are having in the Wichita Public Schools. And so when we look at the Wichita Public Schools, we have been working very hard in developing a partnership with them to provide them supplies, but they have a really good system in place to support their teachers. And we're trying to play into that system and seeing how we can work with them in doing that. And so in the 2019-2020 school year, we had 24 elementary teachers, which is about 1,500 students that used a few of our lessons. We expected more, but once again, COVID happened. But what is neat that came out of that is this year right now, this coming March, every 5th grade teacher in the Wichita Public Schools is going to be required to teach our corn lesson, which is phenomenal. It focuses on food webs, the ecosystem within the cornfield. Because of that, we're going to have 210 5th grade classrooms. I think that's actually supposed to be teachers. That's my bad. Teachers are going to be teaching about it, which is going to equate to 5,000 some students. And so we feel really good about that. We are in the process of working with 2nd and 4th grade teachers. Right now, our lesson is optional, but we hope someday that will be required within their curriculum as well. As part of that partnership and kind of the positive that's coming from that, they have asked us to participate in Ed Adventures. Their IT department at Wichita Public Schools is putting on virtual tours. It's been so popular, they happen almost every week. We did one in the fall, and when I looked at the statistics for that, in a 30-minute presentation, we had 70 schools participate. We had about a little over 1,000 participations during that 30 minutes and 1,100 questions. And so that was successful. They've asked us to come back, and we're doing another one tomorrow. Kylie Liger, who's on staff at education, will be hosting that one tomorrow with Wichita Public Schools. So we're excited about the potential that we're going to continue to have within that school district. Now, all of you are very lucky to see what we're getting ready to roll out on Monday for the first time. As I said, our program has really supported K through 12 teachers in the state of Kansas, and we are still supporting them 100%. But we also 2 years ago wrote a book called We Grow Corn. That book has been offered to all of those teachers, but now we are going to try to see if we can get it into the public libraries. So effective on Monday, which is February 1st, we are rolling out a program called the We Grow Corn Library Series, featuring the We Grow Corn book. Any Kansas public library can go to our website and can ask to receive supplies to put on a 6-unit program within their library system. And so what that means, libraries, as you know, is similar to the school system. They lack resources and funding, sometimes even support staff to put on programs, but they're also struggling to get people in their building. And so this is kind of to provide some excitement so people get in the building. But once again, it's getting our book hopefully in the public library and some people in the community educated about our industry. And so we broke the book down into 6 units, and then each unit is going to have, there's an instruction book. It's going to highlight certain pages within the book. There's a craft or a activity that they will do. An example would be, the first one is a craft project that teaches about the 4 different stages within growing corn. Clear to, why do we need farmers, or the world loves farmers, or whatever our theme is, and they're going to create their own farm using biodegradable peanuts, packing peanuts. And so lots of neat things there. We are also supplying corn snacks. If you know anything about libraries, most kids go to the library after school because they need a snack. And so we are going to go ahead and provide the corn snack with that. Our communication team has put together a poster and social media package, so libraries don't have to worry about that component of advertising the program. And then we have online breakout boxes to kind of sum up the program. We're very excited about this. The libraries we've talked to have been emailing, wondering when they can sign up. So as you talk to people in your community, one thing that we are going to do to really get this program started fast is the first 30 libraries who request their kit will get a $100 donation to their library fund. And so if you have a local library, really encourage them to look at wegrowcorn.com and sign up, but that's going to be rolling out on Monday. That's kind of the quick update on Kansas Corn STEM, but you can always check out our stuff on the website if you have questions, or I can entertain questions now or later as well.
Thanks, Sharon. We are currently planning and projecting that this summer we would be able to have the in-person seminars for the teachers that have been so successful. And I believe, although we had to postpone from last summer, we're still planning them in Western Kansas, especially for this year. So that's our plan, and I know that that planning is underway, and we will continue to move that direction. On the website is just an incredible treasure trove of information for teachers, and now will be for the libraries as well. So we challenge you to make sure your local library is aware of this program, and if you have a contact there, let us know, and we'll be happy to get in touch with them. The other area we wanted to make sure you had updated late breaking information on is what we've been able to do in ethanol development, and we're going to come back to Emily Cope for an update on that market development opportunity.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Greg. Emily Score earlier gave an awesome update about market development efforts going on at the national level. So we just wanted to kind of hit on what's going on here in the state of Kansas, kind of where we're at, what's been going on this past year, as well as hitting on some more of those grant programs. I know Emily briefly mentioned it, but we have been busy this past year, hopefully increasing the infrastructure here across the state of Kansas, because more infrastructure means more access to these fuels, and more ethanol sold means more corn ground for all of you. So this is a map of 2019 to the beginning of 2020. I'm just showing stations across the state. Those in dark blue sell E15 or an E15 and higher blend, and you can see a few yellow dots on there that are E85 only. But we have added to that map, so you can see about 10 new stations across the state of Kansas that were added in 2020. Which is very exciting. Huge thanks to Casey's General Store. That was a big partnership with them, where they added on about 10 new stations as well. And then we got a couple more in the Wichita area market. So just good to see that growth, and slowly but surely we're adding those stations over the years. But what's most exciting is as we see these stations being added, just naturally, we see other stations kind of seeing that they have competition. You know, down the street, someone selling an E15 advertising it for 5 cents cheaper, and that's really encouraging. We're seeing that switch in the marketplace as more stations are interested. And if you are interested in learning about a station near you, this is on our website at kscorn.com or fueledbykansas.com. Would encourage you to get on, play around with the interactive map and find a location near you. And if there's a missing spot, like Sharon said, be happy to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk about some of our incentives and grant programs with a fuel retailer in your area to get them to offer a product made by your local rural farmers as well. And so next, kind of speaking about the grant programs. So we have offered a variety of grant programs over the years, and this is really to just incentivize fuel retailers. So to upgrade to a new pump, it does cost about $25,000 per pump, which is a cost on certain retailers to upgrade and offer these higher ethanol blends. So ourselves, as well as the USDA, has offered different grant programs over the years. Our very first station was in 2016. And from 2016, we now have had 24 different fuel retailers participate in our grant program. So you can see as part of our grant programs, we provide dollars, but they do report their sales back to us, which is exciting. So we can kind of track and see the progress over time. And so this is a graph kind of averaged out. So even though we've added stations each year, each month, you can see that station sales are still growing, because this is all averaged out for all those different stations. So when I talk to fuel retailers, sometimes a concern I get is they say, well, people aren't interested in E15 or nobody's going to fill up with that. But I think this graph shows the exact opposite. And it's really encouraging to see all the way in 2020, just the growth we've seen. This doesn't include E10. These are all higher blends in the growth that we've seen over the years. And I really want to point out that E30 growth. So you can see that blue line right there, just the massive growth in that mid-level blend. We really see that in our Wichita market. Every year they've seen about a 30% increase in sales for E30. So people want it, people are interested, it works in their vehicle, it burns cleaner. So this is just a really good graph showing that as well. And then the next one I want to kind of point out is just that incremental ethanol volume. So we showed total fuel sales, what we're seeing at the stations. If you guys go talk to your own fuel retailers and can see those increases in sales that they're seeing. But this is for all of you. So this is added ethanol. So overall, we've sold over 8.5 million gallons of ethanol. And these are just at those 24 stations that we have knowledge about of their sales. As Emily said, we have over 50 stations in Kansas that are selling E15. So this is about half that. So if you can imagine 8.5 million with the grant program, it's nearly double that across the state, which equates to about 3 million bushels of corn ground just over these past 3.5 years. So I'm just really excited again to see that growth and look forward into the future. And so speaking of future, we have been very busy this past year. So we have our own grant program through Kansas Corn where we incentivize fuel retailers by offering them some dollar match. But what really helps is when USDA is able to kick in some dollars. So Emily Score mentioned this. They did a $100 million grant program. called the Higher Blends Infrastructure Incentive Program this past summer. It ran for about 9 months. It opened up in May and closed in August. And we worked very hard to recruit, let people, retailers know across the state. And for the first round that had $100 million available, we got 12 new stations in Kansas who applied and were awarded a grant. So we're pretty impressed with that number. For each application that we submitted, it took about over 100 hours of work in that 90-day period. So I'm really excited that those 12 stations in Kansas were awarded this grant. What happened once that deadline closed, USDA did have a few $1 million left over, so they reopened it up in December for a 30-day time period window. So opened up in December, just closed last week, and we were able to recruit 2 additional stations. That's actually 2 additional companies, I apologize, and 3 new stations in Kansas. So if they are approved, which we won't find out until mid-March, that will be a total of 15 new stations in Kansas, hopefully this 2021 year. Some might drag out a little longer just with installation times, but seeing those added in this next year, which is really exciting. And that equals to about 52 new dispensers total. And when you look at the sales that each of the companies have turned in, it's a total of 17.2 million gallons worth of sales. We have some larger sales companies, we have some in some rural areas, some co-ops participating, but we're really impressed with the number of gallons that we'll be seeing moving through this grant program. So very exciting, and hopefully to add a few more of those station dots to our map this coming year.
Great, thank you, Emily. And just to highlight for everyone too, Emily Score alluded to it, and I'm not sure that Josh has said it today, but everybody's spent a lot of time on Kansas City for E15, and if we can move through the EPA simply signing it after a comment period, we're still hoping and planning that it's E15 year-round is good to go for this driving season in Kansas City. It's in its very final stage at EPA. Both Missouri and Kansas DNRs or KDHE have approved, and it was published in the Federal Register just a couple weeks ago for EPA to take a 30-day comment period. It's probably going to get extended to 60 days because of the change in administration. So we're all excited to then take these type of grant programs that Emily and others work so hard on to be able to go to Kansas City and say, you have no reason not to start using E15 there. So that's exciting. With that, Brent, President Rogers, we have gone a little over our 2 hours, but unless someone has questions or chat real quick, the floor is yours to take us home.
Again, thank you everyone for joining us today and in this new unique experience, but I think it went well, and hopefully everyone got a little bit of something out of this. I think Kansas Corn is doing some amazing things from top to bottom, whether it be with our STEM program, all the way through our collegiate activities that we participate with, and even to the yield contest. So with that, I'm excited about 2021. I think there's some great things ahead. Prices look a lot better. I'm just a lot more optimistic and have a brighter outlook for the year. So with that, if there aren't any other questions, I appreciate everyone joining us today, and please attend one of our schools that's coming up. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Need a motion to adjourn.
This is Steve Romeo. I'll make that motion.
Great.
Steve, need a second?
JD Hannah, second.
Thank you.
Say aye.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, stay safe, and we will see you at the annual meeting next year.
Thank you.